So, my virtual table roadshow continues, but this time it's taken a little detour down a little path called the Alchemy RPG virtual table. Welcome back, Maverick Gamers. It's no surprise that we find ourselves here yet again with Dwayne talking about virtual tables. See, the thing is, I actually have a very vested interest in making sure that a virtual table actually does what it needs to do for my sessions. I run 5 sessions a week, so if I don't have a virtual table that's really connecting with my online players or allowing me to express myself and tell stories, it's just not going to work. So I often find myself actually going through looking at a lot of different options on a weekly basis, and sometimes flip-flopping back and forth between them. Some of the key ingredients that I need in a virtual table, for me specifically, are not ones that commonly get developed or commonly get put into virtual tables when developing them. Some of those things include archiving notes for Dungeon Masters and not just handouts. Also, the ability for my players to connect with the story in the game versus just moving around tokens and miniatures and 3D models. There's a lot of nuance to a virtual table that I need in order to tell my stories and make sure that my players are engaged. Now, on the surface, a lot of virtual tables have a lot of great features, and I'm not saying that they don't. Roll20, Foundry, I used Harpy in the past, even D&D Beyond's maps. They all have great, awesome features, but it seems like taken as a whole, not all of them deliver on everything that I need. So, lo and behold, I stumble across a new virtual table, well, relatively new anyway, called Alchemy RPG. What makes this one different and what makes it stand out? And honestly, this very well could be the virtual table that's going to do it for me forever, including the WotC virtual table that's coming out later this year. Let's have a look at some of the key features that I need in a virtual table, and perhaps you'll find something that you like here as well. I'm not that demanding when it comes to what I need in a virtual table. Essentially, it boils down to just a few items. I need good video and voice communication. That's really important. Also, I need a way to archive all of my Dungeons & Dragons notes, all of my DM materials, all my handouts, just in general, all of my story ideas. I need a place in the virtual table to call my own, whether that be handouts or whether that be some form of a notepad type system, and something that's easily accessible. The other thing I need, but not required, is a way to deliver good, high-quality assets, whether that be maps or tokens. I certainly need the ability to drop in my own tokens, but as far as maps go, I need the maps to be able to import into high resolution. I often like to zoom into the maps and draw attention to certain details, and having a virtual table that doesn't do justice to the high-resolution maps that I have, that's a real problem. Above and beyond all of that, I need the virtual table to have a very good interface. Now, I know virtual tables have a lot of work to do, and they've got a lot of mechanisms that need to be at play. But at its heart, I need the interface to be something that's easy, very smooth, but not only that, but doesn't get in the way of the actual storytelling. A virtual table that has too much technology running it can often bog things down, and players often get overwhelmed with all the tech and don't focus on the storytelling that I'm wanting to. Welcome to Alchemy RPG. The first thing you're going to want to do is set up an account. Once you've set up the free account, you're going to be welcomed to this landing page. The first thing you want to stop by is your library. The library is where you're going to be able to create your own campaigns and also create characters and import characters. At the top of this page, you're going to see your games, and you're going to see a tab allocated for characters. Now, I've got quite a few characters here, and I've imported all of them from D&D Beyond. Importing from D&D Beyond is very easy, and I highly recommend it. Go up to the top right hand of your screen, click on the Create a Character drop-down, and select Import from D&D Beyond. It'll then pop up and ask you for a URL, and basically just copy and paste the URL from your D&D Beyond character sheet into this spot, and you'll import the sheet in its entirety. Of note, it won't bring in your character portrait, so be prepared to look for a portrait that's going to work here in Alchemy. In addition to characters and games, you have the option to create what's called universes. Universes would be basically akin to source books. Alchemy is linked up with the Dungeons & Dragons 5e SRD. You can set up your own little source books in here, and complete with the ability to upload content of your own creation. Now, it's worth noting that Alchemy doesn't have publisher relationships with Wizards of the Coast and other role-playing game systems. They lean into creator content, and from what I understand, actually, you're actually going to be able to create content for the Alchemy ecosystem in the future, and actually sell that to other players or share it with people who are also using Alchemy. When you first log on to Alchemy, you'll be greeted with this screen. This is where you determine what microphone and what video camera you'll be using. Make sure you use the drop-down toggles to select the device that you're going to be using and the preferred device. Once you click Join Game, this will show up right on the menu. Let's have a look at how the interface works. Once in the game, the camera panel will be shown right here on the side, Show Video Chat. You then have a panel that slides in and keeps the interface intact. Again, not layering on top of the interface to add more clutter. In this example, I don't have my camera turned on for obvious reasons. You can either have this open during gameplay or closed, your choice. This is the Alchemy Virtual Tabletop. The beauty of this design is it's very clean. You're going to notice that a lot of the information is lining the outside of the tabletop instead of actually cluttering around the middle. What takes front and center is a scene that I've uploaded. One of the cool things about Alchemy is it takes your adventure and breaks it down into a series of scenes and combat encounters. It sort of compartmentalizes your game, if you will. Now I'll show you how this scene has been composited. Down below here in the lower right corner, you're going to see a little taskbar or a little tray for Dungeon Masters encompassing scenes, story, actions, and handouts. In order to create a scene, you're going to come down here and you're going to click Add a Scene. Now I've already got 2 scenes pre-populated in here, but you can go ahead and create your own scene by clicking the Create a Scene button. At that point, it's going to ask you to name the scene, and at that point, it's also going to ask you to select a background visual. And you can upload anything from your computer here that's really going to be suitable for the scene that you're trying to create. Once that's uploaded, you'll also have the option to go in and fill sound as well as background effects. Now you'll notice at the top here that there's a tactical option and an option for notes. Notes fulfills another one of those requirements that I have in a virtual table. The ability to type in content, whether that be encounters, NPC reactions, whatever you need to type in, and have that live right on your tabletop with a click of a button. Now tactical is the real genius behind Alchemy RPG. You can actually upload a tactical grid-based map to transition to in the middle of your scene. I'll show you how you do that. You go into your library of maps and you click Add a Map. I've got some pre-populated maps here, so I'm going to go and pull those in and show you what it looks like. We'll take a small one for now, something that I used in one of my previous games. We're going to upload that. Once that's done and uploaded, we're going to save that, and it's going to be entered into our scene library. Now that we've got this scene, I'm going to show it to my players by clicking on it and hitting play. The players are then whisked away to the scene that I've created. The background music really sells this. So if you do have a library of sound effects or just in general music that you want to attach to it, I highly recommend it. That volume can be toggled at the very top here by a volume setting. So if your players are getting tired of the music, tell them that they can go ahead and turn that down. So now that we've got our roleplay scene that doesn't have a tactical map, and we do get into, say, a combat encounter, rather than transitioning to an entirely different UI altogether, you can actually just go up to the top here and go into tactical mode. Tactical mode transitions to the map that you've uploaded previously. Now you can customize this as far as the grid layout and such so that it aligns with the map that you've uploaded. But now you literally have a virtual table that encompasses the role-playing elements that you'd want out of a theater of the mind experience and a tactical-based grid system more akin to D&D Maps or Roll20 or Foundry or any of the other virtual tabletops that are currently in the market. Dropping tokens is as simple as going over, clicking on the character that you want to pop in, and clicking on the token. That player's token is now dropped into the game. I'm going to show you how to access character sheet features next. Players can access their character sheet by going over to the side and clicking on their character icon. In this example, we're going to use Ardell. On the player interface, they'll have the option to view their character sheet. So the character sheet isn't always occupying the screen front and center. In this case here, we're going to use the play feature as a Dungeon Master to view the character sheet. Now, the character sheet is actually running behind the scenes, at all times accessible by the player, but not covering the interface per se. Right now you're going to see that the character portrait is front and center at the bottom of the screen, as well as a hit point bar and experience bar. Now, everything else is around the side of the actual scene itself. So in this case, we have actions, skills, and equipment. I'm going to start with equipment. Everything's imported from D&D Beyond, so you're going to have the entire equipment list as it was. And not only that, you can actually click on it, just like in D&D Beyond. One of the cool features of Alchemy is that when you click on it, you have the option to view it. Now, viewing is essentially what D&D Beyond provides as far as statistical information about the piece of equipment, but you can go further and attach images to this equipment. If you want more of a visual flair, something to spark the imagination, allowing you to have an image attached to an item is just genius in my mind. Character gold and resources are listed above their equipment line. Let's go over to skills. Skills is probably my biggest beef with D&D Beyond. Among other things in the interface, skills occupies a huge chunk of screen when it comes to actually seeing what you have on your character sheet. Not only that, but for new players, it can be kind of overwhelming. Searching through different skills and having to navigate the D&D Beyond interface can be daunting at times. Here, Alchemy lists all the skills that the player needs along with their attributes, so it's running alongside of the skill panel. If a player wants to engage in a skill, just like in most virtual tables, they click on the skill, and in this case they click check. Now Alchemy has another component. They have a view component, which I like as well. It actually pops up and shows you how that skill is broken down and tells you a little bit about that skill. Now, the key is in the details here. What Alchemy has done is they've taken a dark gray slate background with some nice imagery, and they've put that front and center in front of the player. That way it's not hidden in a wall of text, and they can see it. Going back, if they want to activate that skill, they click on the check button, and it rolls it into the journal in kind of a slot machine interface. Now, if a player wants to see exactly how he arrived at that result of 10, and for Dungeon Masters who are teaching new players, they can just click on that, and it's going to break it down in that gray slate background with some nice embroidery. They're using the Nadesta font that you find in the D&D books, and everything looks very clean. Here it shows he rolled a 10 as a result of his 1d20 roll of 8 plus his dexterity bonus. All of those journals are able to be clicked on at any point, whether it be an attack or skill. Let's go on to actions. Actions are essentially macros. Now, these are all compiled automatically in D&D Beyond, so you don't have to actually have the players create them. In Alchemy, those actions are not brought into the Alchemy ecosystem, so players are going to have to recreate their macros or actions from scratch. Now, it's not hard to do, but once created, they can actually go ahead and just use it just like a skill. So in this case here, you're going to see that the Morningstar attack that I've just clicked on is not only generating an attack roll, but a damage roll at the same time. This speeds up gameplay and makes it a little bit easier on everybody. Again, just like I showed you before, you can click on that and have everything broken down. So if players are a little confused at how they got to those results, they can just click on the interface and it will actually show it for them. In this case, we've got a 24 attack roll made up of a 17 die roll and plus 7 on proficiencies and strength modifiers. Damage is 12 based on a 1d8 roll and a plus 5 strength bonus. I think as a Dungeon Master, this reinforces players to learn the game and understand how those results are coming about. Some virtual tables don't actually make that easily accessible, so this is a plus in my book. Let's head over to the actual character sheet itself, outside of some of the attacks and abilities and equipments. By clicking on the character, you can actually go into the view mode. Now the view mode immediately pops up the portrait assigned to the character, and this is why I think the visual sort of flair that Alchemy has really adds a lot to the game, and definitely sparks my imagination. Here you're going to see the character sheet below it, including all of the stats. Everything that you would see in a normal D&D character sheet is going to be listed here, including forward thinking as your character progresses in level. Essentially, it's just pulling the actual information of that class right from the SRD. There's also a spot for description, and this is all pulled from D&D Beyond. If your player hasn't created anything in their description or background section, it won't populate here. But again, everything is pulled in and accessible. Well done, Alchemy. Moving ahead into 2024, I'm a little concerned about the state of the Wizards of the Coast virtual table. On the surface, it looks amazing. Unreal Engine 5 graphics, fully realized tabletop. It's everything you could want in a virtual table from a graphical sense. But does it scratch that itch when it comes to Theater of the Mind gameplay? More and more, I'm concerned about the state of D&D as it moves into this video game style format, and virtual tables take a spin into providing more visuals than trying to evoke imaginative responses in the players. Alchemy RPG treads that line and does it amazingly well. It provides both a tactical option and a Theater of the Mind toolset that allows you to really tap into the imagination of the players. Head to Alchemy RPG, try the free account, and play around with the toolset. See if it works for your players at the virtual table. I know my players are really enjoying it, and I can't help but state that the minute we turned it on and I showed them some of the cool features and how easy it was to use, that they just fell in love with it immediately. I hope you're all having fun playing Dungeons & Dragons out there, and we'll talk to you soon. Before you go, I need your help. I'm trying to grow the exposure of what we do here at Maverick Games. My goal is to actually bring information to parents and students for fun, academics, and even support of neurodivergency. Please subscribe and make sure you click on those notifications. I don't do paid ads or sponsorships. I hope that you can find content here that's enjoyable for yourself and maybe others. Thank you very much, and thanks for tuning in.